This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Nigeria's imports have outstripped its exports in 2023 by a whopping 1.4 trillion naira. Now, this is according to the National Bureau of Statistics, which released its foreign trade report covering the fourth quarter of 2023. Now, the numbers for the period under review show that Nigeria's exports totaled 12.69 trillion naira and its total imports stood at 14.11 trillion naira. Now, this is notable because in the third quarter of 2023, Nigeria's exports exceeded her imports. To help break down the numbers and what it means for Nigeria's economy, we're joined by economist Mukhtar Mohammed. Mr. Mohammed, good morning and thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
What is your reaction to the NBS's foreign trade report for the fourth quarter of last year?
Not a surprise at all, and that's why you've seen the pressure on the exchange rate. We've been seeing it all about. Our trade deficit is very high, and when you look at these trade deficits, you look at it's mostly trading within Nigeria and states, the United States, China, and other European nations. It's not even within Africa, despite the African Continental Trade Agreement. So I'm not surprised, and you just have to look at our exchange rate volatility, and then you know why we are going through what we're going through now, because of we don't even have the FX, so they have to source for it, and I keep saying it, over 80% of what we consume in these countries, we normally import it from outside the shore of this country. So it's not a surprise.
Well,
maybe.
Mr. Mohammed, if I may, I mean, there's then the question of why we didn't see a similar trend occur in the third quarter of 2023. Because if our exports outgrew or superseded our imports, this was at a time when those reforms had already been implemented. So what was the difference?
Well, the difference has to do with rising costs in terms of production. When you look at that period and now, you know, a lot have changed in terms of price volatility, in terms of goods and services. So, and this is due to the exchange rate. When you talk about the third quarter, what you're talking about, you're looking at an exchange rate at that time at about 900. That was, I think, between 700 to 900 when you look at both the parallel and the official market. But now you're looking at a rate of 1,500. So that, for me, is one of the main reasons why we are seeing these numbers go high, because the exchange rate has drastically changed by almost 100%.
Well, Mr. Mohammed, is this a case of what goes up must come down? Is there hope that the numbers will drop?
Well, the number dropping will depend on a lot of factors. And one of those factors would be if we are able to produce what we consume. And it's not a short-term solution. So that will have to be a long-term vision to be able to achieve that. And as long as we have this volatility, as long as we have cost of energy is still high. Because what you see is that even when you want to produce here, it's cheaper to bring it in and then producing here, because it's like the goods you produce here are more expensive than the goods that are brought in because of the cost of production. Now with the exchange rate volatility, it should have been an advantage. But again, we are still also suffering from it because of high cost of energy that we also import into this country. So the short-term measures we still might continue. Like the long-term is beginning to think of how we can also deal with producing what we can consume. And the short-term solution should be how we can bring down this rate and reduce a little bit of our consumption offshore, and see if we can minimize it by maybe 30 to 40%. That could bring a lot of support. But again, you also mustn't forget that we still have crisis, insecurity. Our farmers are also not going to farm. So all these are adding up to what we are saying.
Mr. Mohammed, thank you very much for speaking with us on the conversation this morning. Our guest is Mukhtar Mohammed, who joined us to speak on the NBS, the National Bureau of Statistics, foreign trade report for the fourth quarter of last year that stated that Nigeria's exports were less than its imports by the sum of 1.4 trillion naira. Do stay tuned. The conversation continues on Now Breakfast.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.